Oakland A's UK. Oakland A's UK. The Oakland A's UK. The Oakland A's UK.
Hello and welcome to Oakland A's UK. I'm Matt Smith. It's Saturday, June the 6th, and yeah, here in the UK, the weather has taken a turn for the worse. It's gone a bit cold, grey, miserable and wet. But to be fair, it's been quite nice for the last couple of months during the lockdown, so we can't complain too much coming in. Hey, good for the garden, as they like to say. Seeing as the weather's bad, I mean, we've got to stay in anyway. Good chance to listen to a few podcasts, you might say. And thank you to everybody who has listened to the latest episode of our Oakland A's UK podcast. Dom and I were putting the world to rights. The baseball world was put to rights in our last podcast. And you can hear it, if you've not done so already, on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts and many other places. Thanks also to everyone who has shared it with their A's friends. Much appreciated. 1 week on from the recording of that podcast, there has been some important news relating to the A's. So let's take a look. On Friday, A's owner John Fisher finally saw a little bit of sense. He has announced that he has turned around on his decision to suspend payments to the minor leaguers. Now, as you will remember, the A's were supposed to be paying minor leaguers $400 a week. They did that up to the end of May and announced that they were going to stop. They did so for 1 week, but thankfully Fisher has seen sense and has reversed that decision, so minor leaguers will now be paid. There will also be a fund available for A's employees who have been furloughed. This is what A's owner John Fisher told the San Francisco Chronicle. He said, "I concluded I'd made a mistake. I've listened to our fans and others, and there is no question that this is the right thing to do. We clearly got this decision wrong. These players represent our future and we will immediately begin paying our minor league players. I take responsibility and I'm making it right." In regards to the emergency fund to assist A's employees who were recently furloughed, Fisher said, "We have a lot of employees who have been incredibly loyal for many years. It felt like the right thing to do was set up a fund to support them." This is really good news for all of the employers who have been affected. However, the fact that it took this long for Fisher to realise it and that he didn't realise this was the right thing to do right from the start is still a real concern. I mean, you have to look at it and think he's a bit like a broken clock. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. I couldn't help but notice that there was no mention of how the A's are going to pay for this. It's almost as if the money was always there. Who would have thought it? You just look at it and it's clearly obvious that Fisher took the opportunity to say, right, anywhere we can make any sort of saving whatsoever, we need to do it, regardless of the consequences. And he could see, contractually, the A's could find a way not to pay the A's minor leaguers whilst keeping them under contract. So didn't care less, we can do it, let's do it. Shocking behaviour from an owner. And you know, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the owners may have chipped in their thoughts, maybe even the MLB Commissioner's office. There's so much going on right now about the money in the game, about the league and the players union not being able to come to an agreement. More on that in the next video tomorrow. So when you look at it and the owners are trying to put across this message that they're really in financial trouble, having one of their owners spinning this rubbish about not being able to find $1 million to pay minor leaguers clearly was making them all look like fools. Fisher has to take the fall here, and rightly so. I'm really not sure that Fisher still cares about this at all, to be honest. The A's went first with their announcement, and the problem Fisher had is that every other team looked at us and thought, "We're not doing that, mate," and it left the A's standing on their own. Even Fisher couldn't be oblivious from the criticism the A's were getting. He had no choice but to turn around on this decision. How Fisher couldn't have predicted the outcome of all of this, well, it's really hard to fathom. This is somebody who has been a Major League Baseball owner for 15 years. You would like to think he'd have at least some semblance of knowing how these things work. In fact, it really plays into some of the rumours that we were hearing about this. We were hearing that people in the A's front office had tried to convince Fisher of how wrong this decision was, how badly it would impact the A's, and how badly it would play publicly. Well, it seems like he ignored them, and It was telling that he had to put his name on the initial statement when it was announced. He'd never done that before, and it felt like the front office said, you can put your name to this, mate, not us. So he's had to really look at himself, and you would like to think, maybe, that he may take some lessons on board. But unfortunately, so far during the 15 years of his family being the owners of the A's, that doesn't seem too likely. Put simply, Fisher was forced into giving in. Many fans, not only A's fans, but fans of our team, Bay Area media, ex-A's players, were all vocal in their opposition to the announcement not to pay minor leaguers, and it finally paid off. We're seeing in matters much more important, of course, across the world right now, that if you really want to make a change, you've got to be prepared to speak out about it and to fight for what you think is right. And that's what A's fans and baseball fans have done. Fisher may be the legal owner of the A's, but us fans are the true owners of the team. Fisher is just a custodian, really, and it's up to all of us who care about the A's to make sure that he always understands that there are responsibilities that come with being an A's owner, and that when he does something in our team's name, we hold him to account for it. So at least we've finally got to the right position. Our minor leaguers are getting a basic pay, and there is a scheme for our employees who've been furloughed. So a little bit of positivity for the A's. As for Major League Baseball more widely, not a lot of positive news there, I'm afraid. We'll cover those latest developments in the next video coming out tomorrow. So don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel to be notified of when it goes live, and as always, subscribe across the social media platforms to @Oakland A UK on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram.
We're the Oakland